Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Davey Deathray here with my guy, Foz Rotten, for another edition of Movie Punks. And man, this one is like, I think one of the first times we talked about doing this show, Foz, this was like one of the first movies we talked about covering because it is arguably the most punk movie of all time. Yeah, welcome guys to the Movie Punks episode of Return of the Living Dead. This one is going to get wild. This is one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. How about you, Foz?
Mine too, good sir. This is indeed a momentous occasion we have here. We have talked about this since day one.
Yeah, you're getting all like Southern Baptist getting going. You know, I love it.
This and is I said, David. I said, David. It was filmed in Kentucky, right down the road, so you know it's special.
Was it really filmed in Kentucky?
It's set in Kentucky. Probably not actually filmed in Kentucky.
Yeah, I mean that spot where the punks are like driving in Suicide's car, like you can see the little like LA River Canal.
Oh, I'm sure that's all LA. Yeah, they ain't bother coming to Kentucky. They don't come to West Virginia to shoot West Virginia. They ain't coming to Kentucky, buddy.
Yeah, I figured the only, Hollywood, there's the few states where they get a good tax break, and that's where they go to shoot everything, is just those handful of states. So yeah, guys, just wanted to say what's up to everyone in the chat here before we really get going. The way we usually do this is we kind of have categories. I mean, we let the conversation meander and do its thing. I think we do a pretty good job at that, but we also try to like make sure we're hitting some points and everything, and talking about what makes this movie a classic and also what makes it punk rock as well. So I just want to say what's up to Medley Man in the chat there. Medley Man says Return of the Living Dead 5 is the best movie you will ever see. Trust. Have you seen that one, Foz? I don't know if I have.
Yeah, I saw 4 and 5. They were sci-fi originals. And
oh my god,
were they shot in Chernobyl or whatever? Was that the big thing that
maybe
illegally, I believe, allegedly illegally shot in Chernobyl? I've seen those, man. If you've never seen them, they are the biggest hunks of ever.
Yeah,
fuck it's punk rock. They're the biggest pieces of shit ever.
There it is. Yeah, I don't care. You can swear on this channel because not enough people watch it for YouTube to care. So everyone that we've got is cool with it. So no one's gonna run off and tattle or anything.
So listen, guys, they were talking shit on Return of the Living Dead 4 and 5. I can't believe it.
Exactly. And I don't think I've seen anything past the second Return of the Living Dead, which I don't really remember too much.
Davey.
What is 3 really good? What am I missing out on?
Davey, have you not seen part 3?
No, I know the cover, like with the goth looking chick.
Get ready. I say this all the time that we got to watch it and then do one. You're watching part 3 and we're doing a show, buddy. What's her name? Perfect. Melinda Clark. She was on. She's in tons of stuff. But what was the show she was on? The OC. Yeah. Oh, dude, this is peak.
I recognize her name, and I don't know if she was at like Mad Monster last year out here in Phoenix.
She does the rounds. Yeah,
I think she was like right around like where Bill Moseley was. There was just so many people at that con, so it's like you're walking around, and I'm like,
she had a recurring character on one of my favorite shows that people give me shit over, but I don't give a fuck. I love it. Entourage. Do you ever watch Entourage?
I never did, but funnily enough, I did watch the OC because somebody that I dated in my 20s watched it. So did she play Summer's mom or
yeah,
is that who she was?
Somebody's mom, yeah.
Someone's mom, whoever.
Pardon me, Film Nation. I'm trying to get this right in my head. Clockwork Orange, Malcolm McDowell. Yeah, on Entourage, she played Malcolm McDowell's like actress wife.
Okay.
So those 3 things, including Return of the Living Dead, is what I always think of her for.
All right, well,
because she was perfect.
I need to check it out. Yeah, I've never seen it. I didn't know if it was good or not. I mean, the cover looks so different than what the first 2 movies are going for. But the second movie just seems like kind of a rehash, and it's really odd too that they bring back
it's a
some of the same actors. It's a really bizarre kind of thing.
I like it. My favorite part, like everybody's, the thriller zombie at the end, where the guy's in the thriller costume and everybody's getting electrocuted and he's doing his whole thing. The thing about part 2, I'll just say real fast before we dive into part 1, is it actually scared me as a kid because it has a little boy turning into a zombie. So whenever you bring in like child death, like in the Blob remake or anything like that, it's like, oh shit, they don't care in this movie. This is dangerous. And strangely enough, a weird, absurd comedy that's just poking fun at its predecessor is it goes there in Degrassi terms.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's not very often that you see the kids getting killed. Yeah, not very often at all. All right, not often enough. No, I'm just we've got Antonis in the chat. What's happening, Antonis? And we've got Gory Tiger as well. Love those little emojis. Antonis says, finally watch Godzilla X Kong. Have you seen it? No, I haven't. Not really interested personally. How about you, Foz?
I will be watching it like I watched all the others past the first Godzilla of Bryan Cranston, and that is How God Intended on HBO Max, just streaming for free on my friend's account. I probably shouldn't have said that, but I'm being honest. I can't pay $25 or whatever it is for HBO nowadays just to watch Entourage and The Wire over and over and over.
Yeah. Well, you got to mix in some other stuff because HBO, the Max has like all the, DC cartoons and all that kind of fun stuff too. So you can watch Batman the animated series. I think that's on there.
You're right. My wife is The Sopranos. You are correct.
Have to watch, absolutely. And we've got
Davey.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, leave me alone. We've got Jamie Hart in the chat. What's happening,
Jamie?
Did you see the Return of the Living Dead in the theater? Oh, there it is. Yep. I love Return of the Living Dead so much. Awesome theater experience. Look at her just rub it in the cutest of ways.
She does. She has seen everything. I'm going to ask her the most obscure movie, and she's going to be like, I was front and center, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. What a hell of a time. I wish I were there. And then we've got Trisha McMasters. What's happening, Trisha? Great to see you. Trisha's been active on the long legs in the long legs comment section. Kate and I dropped our non-spoiler long legs review earlier today. You guys can check that out
because we want to watch it this weekend. So just tell me this: like it or not like it?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, I don't want to do the whole overhype machine, so I want to keep it as even keeled. But it is a gorgeous looking film and a story that moves along really well. That's surprises you, doesn't pull any sort of like weird it's so strange because it feels straightforward in one way, but also kind of strange in another. It was I've kind of haunting. Like I'm already like, man, I can't wait to watch it. When it hits streaming, I can't wait to dive in. Just knowing the full story, getting to watch it again and seeing it with that different perspective. I love like the shift of perspective from a first view to a second view, especially with a movie like Long Legs.
Right. I've only seen the first kind of teaser that came out for it, and I've only seen like when I had to on my feed like stuff about it. I purposely tried to stay away about anything from it.
Yeah,
because
that's the way to go.
I just want to see it.
I would avoid as much as you can because the marketing was perfect. So the marketing did enough to like just show you a couple creepy things and make you want to see the movie. The marketing to me doesn't really give away any of the story. So that's why when we did our review, I was like, I just want people to be able to go see it and enjoy it. So I'm not going to overhype you and we're not going to spoil anything. But we got Ryan Swayze in the chat. What's happening, Ryan? Great to see you.
Crazy for Swayze.
Frank Riker from the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast.
All
Frank
right.
the Tank. Really appreciate you coming by, bud.
Thank you, bud.
Man, it means the world. It absolutely does. Medley Man says, I've only seen the first 3 Return of the Living Deads. All right.
You're fine.
Antonis says, I don't believe I have seen Return of the Living Dead. All right. We'll get ready to have it all spoiled for you. And I think we're caught up with saying what's up to everyone in the chat. We've been kind of shooting the shit here for about 10 minutes. So I guess we might as well start talking about the movie we came here to discuss. The Return of the Living Dead from 1985. Foz, do you want to lead off with this one? I mean, I love this movie, but I know you're really passionate about this one. So I want to give you the floor to give your overall thoughts, first impressions, whatever you want to cover, man.
First thing I just want to say is, I really bust my ass for you guys. This is the things I get. What? Not fucking spooky? What? You think this is a fucking costume? This ain't a fucking costume.
You think this is a costume? It's this total Travolta costume.
Yeah. That guy's definitely from Kentucky. Let me just tell you. They're like, son, this ain't a fucking costume. So that's how I had to open that. I always loved that. I got to tell you something, Davey. I felt like stupid Mawan forever the other day because I was looking at I forget who did it. Maybe it's Reaction Figures. They had came out with the two punks, the girl punk and the boy punk with the mohawk action figures. Have you seen these for Return of the Living Dead?
I have not. I have not seen these.
And they look great. And my all-time favorite movie poster ever is the original one sheet for Return of the Living Dead with the punks by the tombstone, right?
Yeah.
And they had these two on there, and it said the names Suicide and Trash. And I was like, is that supposed to be the character Suicide and Trash on that post? And all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, I've watched this movie for 30 years.
Yeah.
I never knew to that moment that it was supposed to be those characters.
Yeah, and I'm looking at it right now and I can see what you're saying because Suicide definitely has like the chains in the same place in the mohawk. Yeah. I think it's tougher.
But the mohawk
Trash.
His is just like so little, whereas that one's like really high. And like now, and I get Linnea Quigley. I get that one. But she looks different too.
Oh, she looks. It's just she's not
so stupid.
Well, the zombies aren't green. She's like powder white when she's a zombie. So I think you get a pass on that one. Right. I'm gonna give you a pass. Punk rock pass. There you go.
Well, thank you. I just felt so dumb in the moment. But anyways, forget all that. Forget the marketing. Forget everything about that. Let's talk about the actual meat and potatoes of this movie.
Yeah. Let's dive in.
Now you're always Mr. Background and the specifics and specs. You can have your field day with that one. I'm going to tell you from a young punk's perspective, from the heart, what this movie is. This is a gateway movie into horror. It is a gateway movie into punk rock for sure. It's a gateway movie into comedy, and especially horror comedies. It's one of the best horror comedies you will ever see in your entire life because it's dark comedy. And it's over the top absurdist comedy in places. And it's just, and sometimes it's really undertoned. Like, did you ever notice that the whether it's supposed to be there or not on purpose, did you ever notice that the two bickering friends from next door are Bert and Ernie?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Bert
I think this movie is peppered. There's all sorts of even everything that's like in the background, the signage in the background of the Unita factory or warehouse, like all the signage is really funny. It's almost like they just started sticking up random signs, because there's one that has something about formaldehyde and toxic. It's just random. And then even with Ernie, he's got like that Nazi gun, and then there's like weird almost it looks like Nazi propaganda or like something in the background. It's bizarre, like just all sorts of weird stuff.
Deep, dark secret, and the whole time he never says what that big favor will be. You're just assuming like, oh, he's going to hit him up for some money. Maybe it was like some weird German Nazi stuff.
Well, and that's the bizarre thing is I mean, we're going to be kind of all over the place here when we discuss it, just because the movie is almost so random anyway. So I guess, it's fine. When it comes time to, when Bert is telling Ernie, that's just a great beginning of a sentence. When Bert is telling Ernie that they're rabid weasels in the bags and that he wants to burn them, Ernie's like, you can't burn live animals. It just seems like dark. And I'm like, oh, well, so what's weird? What's with the Nazi gun and the propaganda in the back or whatever? Yeah. I mean, at least it looks like some sort of caricature of Hitler or something. I don't know what the hell's going on. And then something I didn't notice until this time around is on the back of Freddy's jacket, it says, fuck you. I thought that was brilliant. I just happened to pause it for some other reason.
I was never noticed that.
It's like silver lettering. It's, it's not super, but that's the really great thing when you talk about the humor of this movie and you talk about how it's gateway. that's the cool thing is like some of the jokes are right in front of your face. And then some of the other jokes, there's like layers to it. So I think the older you get, the more you watch the film, the more you're going to like see those jokes. It's kind of like, you know, the way I feel like some Simpsons episodes are like that, where, you know, you start noticing things that they, you know, they want you to rewatch it and you get more value out of that. So yeah, this movie is full of that. Absolutely.
Of course there's the in your face thing, like suicide and Trash talks about wanting to be pawed at by all these old men, and of course that's how she dies. And suicide is the first one that runs into it, much like us. You know, you could say he committed suicide, like just like you could really analyze that stuff.
Yeah. Well, and even just like all of their names are hilarious. So it's like Suicide, Scuzz, Trash, Spider. I mean, you know, the more like mod looking kids all have like regular names.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's Chuck is like the super mod guy in the suit. And then the girls are just, the other two girls are just kind of like they're just wearing like your standard 80s kind of outfits. There's nothing too like, you know, specifically punk about them, really.
I kind of took it as like we were talking about last stream on Repo Man. New Wave at this time was very popular. So it was the New Wave kids at the school hanging out with the real punk rockers at the school, and the punk rockers were like, all right, fuck it, we'll let them hang out. And here's the bridge, is that Tom Matthews, who's working, that they go there to pick up, he look like, you start to look at him, you know, he's like a real punk rock dude, but he's the partier. He's the guy everybody goes to because he knows where the party is. And that's the start of the movie. Is basically Tom Matthews that started this new job at Unita, what is it, chemicals and
it's just like Unita products or something like that.
And like you need skeletons, you need whatever, this place has you. And so this young punk kid who likes to party is there probably for some beer money. His parents yelling at him to get a job, much like Repo Man. And he probably starts dating the really good looking New Wave girl of the school. Right. And so she brings along her New Wave friends in with the punk rock guys he's friends with, and all kind of meshes together, and they all party together. And to me, that's what it's always been like, because you got the really punk rock dude with the mohawk, and then you got Juana Man over there who I say is part of the real punks, you know.
There. Oh, absolutely. Spider. For sure.
Sorry, his name will forever be Juana Man, and I will always know him for Living Single, where he acts Maxine. If she wants a date and that she looks so good, he could stop her up with a biscuit. And me and my wife joke about that all the time. Sorry, Juana Man.
Yeah. No. Well, and Miguel Nunez Jr., who was in you know, Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, and also the Mark. Let's see here. It's Mark Venturini, who plays Suicide, is also in Friday the 13th Part 5.
Yes,
he is the guy that chops up Joey with the axe. So that's kind of cool, even though they didn't get to they didn't get to appear with each other, you know, on screen in A New Beginning, but here they are together. They have that great moment at the beginning of the movie where Suicide's like had enough of him talking shit, and he just like abandons piloting the car just to turn around and start like going after him. And I love that Suicide is totally doing this whole like Rodney Dangerfield kind of like, you know, like, you guys only hit me up when you want to ride somewhere. Like he's, you know, all punked out, but like kind of getting his feelings hurt over something that's like not really a big deal.
I love that over being called Spooky. And I'm like, I thought you would like Spooky, whatever.
Yeah. And him and Scuzz are both basically, you know, their reaction to Freddy getting a job is like, Scuzz is like, oh, what a dick. And then, you know, Suicide is just sort of ripping on him as well. And Freddy's girlfriend is like, well, it's not President of the United States, but it's something. So, yeah, I mean, this is the group of friends. I mean, what's really cool is, I mean, this movie moves really quick, right? It's like,
it does.
So you get to know these characters as quick as possible. So there's you know, a lot of broad acting and except for Linnea Quigley, who must have been told to act completely disinterested, because she usually brings so much more energy and personality to her performances. So I would imagine it's part of the direction, because she literally says her lines like a porn actress that can't act, you know? So she's just like, I think about dying all the time, or just, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the most like nothing to it kind of thing.
I think she was, this is just me making this up. I can see the direction being terminally horny. Like, you just are horny to where you almost die from it. Go.
Yeah. But then when push comes to shove, she totally wusses out and doesn't want to die. What a poser.
Yeah. And it's just like Ginger Snaps. The whole time I'm watching that movie, it's like, you spent the whole movie wanting to die. Now you don't want to turn into werewolves? Whatever.
Yeah. Stupid. Yeah. You gotta stick with your punk plan and follow through. You know, you have to finish things in life. I guess speaking of Linnea, we might as well hit up like her. I mean, her dance is really iconic in this movie. The fact that she's naked for the, you know, 3/4 of the movie. And I don't know if it's always her in the makeup, like once it turns to a zombie. I'm not sure.
She has a merkin. I know that much.
Yeah, they had to do that. They had to Barbiefy her down there. Absolutely. Yeah, but how many VHS tapes do you think have like kind of a rough spot there from the rewinding and pausing?
Well, at least two I had. At least two I had. My buddy had one. Is at least three I know of.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments where I remember the first time I watched that movie, I was probably like 17 years old, 16 or 17, like end of high school, late 90s. And it just comes out of nowhere. She just like starts going for it. And then, you know, in the 80s, there was kind of like the full nudity thing was sort of a thing in comedy movies and all that kind of stuff. But when you're watching it in the late 90s, I'm like, oh my gosh, this got out of hand really quick. And then she's just hanging out naked. And it's just sort of like, well, now I feel awkward. Like I liked it at first, and now I feel like I need to start looking away, you know?
Like the other girl with him, the other new wave girl, she was like, you can put your clothes on now. The show's over.
Yeah, and she's like, what does it make you feel uncomfortable or whatever?
Meanwhile, the guys are like, we're good, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
So you said you didn't see this till after high school or near the end of high school?
Yeah, it must have been like, you know, 99, something like that, 98 or 99. Yeah.
I think this one, I know I saw it young because I saw this and part two around the same time. So this was probably one of those many at my cousin's houses. At my cousin's house, he didn't care. He just wanted to watch stuff. So he put on everything from Cannibal Holocaust, you know, whatever. So I saw a lot of horror movies at a very young age, thanks to my cousin.
That's great. Everyone needs a cousin or somebody that's not a parent to show them those things, because you still need to think of your parents as your protectors, but other people can sneak in and show you all the stuff and spoil you rotten, right?
Spoil me,
all right.
rotten.
There it is. Spoil you, Foz rotten. Medley Man says, out of the 15 Romero and Return of the Living Dead films, where does the original Return of the Living Dead land?
15. Hold on. We gotta get a count on this, Davey.
So I don't know. I don't.
Romeros.
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. At least 12 returns.
Yeah.
Where are we missing? So we're missing at least 3.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I would think that the original Return of the Living Dead probably ranks you know, top 5 for me out of all, including all those movies, because you know, because I'd probably put the original Night, Dawn, and Day and Land ahead of it probably, so it might be number 5. I love Romero so much. You know,
okay, so I can do this. For me personally, these aren't talking about what the better movie is. Me personally, Return is number 1, Dawn 2, Day 3. Oh Lord, I don't even know after that.
Yeah. After that, it's just a crapshoot, right?
I'll just piss people off and say Diary of the Dead. I always like that.
There you go. Hey, I like Diary. I maybe don't love it, but I like it. I like the concept especially. We got Cheesy Corn Pop in the chat. What's happening, Cheesy Corn Pop? And we've got Eli Cortez joining. Oh, look at this. There you go. Saw Long Legs today. Good movie, but don't buy into the hype. I think that's good advice right there. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Public Enemy.
Okay, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some Oscar nominations there. I guess that's what I'll say. But yeah, don't believe the hype. Yeah, so going from overall thoughts, we kind of touched on the performances a little bit. But man, we would be remiss to not talk about Clu Gulager's amazing lead performance here. I mean, this is probably, and I've always really liked him. I even liked him he's in a TV movie called San Francisco International that was made fun of on Mystery Science Theater 3000. And he's even good in that terrible movie. And there's maybe I just really like him. I like him in A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge. He plays the father. But there's some man in this movie
as well.
Yeah, and in this movie, he just has such great command. He steps in. It's not really his fault that the canister opened up. Sure, he could have called the government before, and they probably just would have picked it up instead of. But I really,
years ago,
I really dig him.
I never figured out why he didn't. Me
I
too. But I never figured out why he didn't just call years and years ago, because he needed a movie, I guess.
Well, you get the idea that, like, at least I just got the idea that they thought it was kind of cool that they had it, and that it was like the sort of like a joke, like the government screwed up and accidentally sent this like thing, because that's the way that is it Frank? Is that James Cameron's character Frank? Frank kind of he kind of treats it like, ooh, there's this like cool thing that we've got because of this government mistake. Because Freddy's like, what's the weirdest thing you've seen? And in this movie, the story from Night of the Living Dead is actual, not only canon, but it's actually fact. Like that's because they reference that whole night and everything, which I think is really cool, because that's something we missed in the intro of the film, because this was written by, I think it's Richard Rubenstein, who co-wrote. Yeah. Or John. Oh, I'm sorry. Why do I always think Rubenstein? Rubenstein is a producer. John A. Russo, who co-wrote Night of the Living Dead with George Romero. So he had, the rights to that term Living Dead, I think. And so it's kind of cool that there's like this split, like he gets to split off and make his movies, and then
this
Romero
was like
gets
his
to make
version.
Right. Yeah.
Kind of talking. It's kind of talking about the other film. Like, that was a bunch of crap. This is real.
Yeah, or like the other film is true, but now this is where we're taking it. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And I would even say like some of the music here kind of even reminds me of like a Goblin soundtrack. Like some of the vibes, I get a little bit of that Dawn of the Dead kind of thing. But yeah, the old guys, James Karen and Clu Gulager really bring it here for being older gents leading this movie.
You were talking about how like it was a government mix-up that they left the thing there. It got me thinking about was it in part 2 how they always are kind of like doubling down on part 1. In part 2, I think it was just on the back of a truck and it falls off the back of a truck, and it's just the whole thing about like, oh, we got this off the back of a truck, the government screwed up again.
Yeah. I man, it's been so long since I've seen that second one. I don't remember anything about it really. I'd have to watch it again, but it wouldn't surprise me, because to me, the second movie, I think the reason why it left my brain is because it kind of just feels like a remake, which is an odd way to take a sequel.
They have verbatim the same scene of the you shut your mouth, boy, if you like this job. Like this job.
That's a great line.
Amped up times 10 in the sequel with the same people and everything doing it, but they're grave robbers in that one.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. In in this one, Tom Matthews as Freddy. It's kind of cool, man. I mean, in 85, he does this. And then the very next year, he's in Jason Lives, which is one of the best, if not the best Friday the 13th film. And he's got, there you go, wearing it right now. There's something like so believable I've always felt about, like, I really like Tom Matthews as a performer. I feel like he could have had a way bigger career because he's got like this sincerity to him. He, I think the comedy works when he's pushing the comedy, and then, the more dramatic stuff works pretty well too. Although I did notice, man, this movie's got a lot of yelling and grown adult men moaning in despair. There's a lot of that, like, oh no, like it is like, people talk about, I don't know if Frank's still hanging out here, but I've heard Darren on the Slaughtered Lamb movie podcast always talking about how he can't stand Goonies because of all of the yelling. And then when I'm watching Return of the Living Dead, I'm thinking, man, this movie's got a lot of yelling. Like I love this movie. I'm not saying it to knock it, but I just noticed this last time around, like, oh man.
So note to self: if you're ever around Davey and you're becoming a zombie, don't moan, don't yell.
Yeah. Well, yeah, especially just as Frank and Freddy are turning into zombies. That's a really cool. I love how, the makeup just gets like incrementally, they become more dead and everything. It's a really interesting, like, we've never seen the whole zombie thing kind of go down that way in a movie before. Like, it's a pretty unique way of doing it.
I was thinking about this. Essentially, the moment that the gas hits them, they die. And then they're resurrected whenever they wake up coughing and everything, but they're dead already. They're just slowly decaying into zombies who want food then, but they're already dead the moment the gas hits them.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just that the rigor mortis has to set into the brain before they like fully turn. Is kind of like, at least that's sort of the way I look at it. But yeah, exactly. Like, they're screwed. As soon as that canister opens up, they're screwed. And I don't know where Tarman went, because he doesn't attack them when they leave the basement, but he's down there. He's not in the canister.
He got his head knocked off, but
that happens later.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So he must have just gone and hit.
Roman.
He's hiding in the corner like a tarantula that just shed its skin, because they're all sensitive and frail when they're like getting there, after they molt. So yeah, Tarman just needs a few minutes to gather his thoughts, and then he'll be ready to chomp right through Suicide Skull, which is maybe the most powerful zombie move I've ever seen. You think that the zombie's teeth would just like bend and fall out, but no, he bites right through bone. How do you explain this, Foz? Explain it to me.
Well, science tells us that zombies have strong enamel because they drink lots of calcium. There you go, Davey.
Okay, perfect. Laws of physics state. It's all about the angle. Yeah, we got Chad is in the chat. What's happening, Chad? Great to see you, bud. We also have Fight the Good Fight. I would be yelling too if zombies were about to kill me. Yeah, exactly. And maybe I just mean not so much like the fuck you, we gotta blah blah blah, like all that kind of stuff. I just mean like, oh, kind of stuff, like very over the top theatrical moans of despair, not moans of joy.
Moans of despair. Davey Deathray and the Moans of Despair.
No, Moans of Despair is a Misfits song that I'm writing right now.
Nice.
Speaking of which, there is in the scene where they're in the chapel and Freddy has like come back and he's chasing his girlfriend around. The guys bust in to take care of him. And there's a little phrase that's on. I had to pause the movie. There's a phrase above the door on the inside of the chapel. It says, "Beyond this fleeting day, the rest from which no man wakes." And I thought that Beyond This Fleeting Day would be a good Misfit song as well. But that's a pretty, not a joke, but actually something where I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of poetry there in this.
Let's see, it would go a little something movie. Like "Beyond this fleeting day," like that.
Yes, exactly. I'm not even going to try to top that. That's the one. I hope the AI generator makes a short of that moment right there.
There we go.
And then Ryan Swayze says, "I know I'll probably get shit for this, but in Aliens, Newt's constant screaming grates on me. Other than that, I love the film." Hey, you know what? All opinions are welcome here. It seems like you still, you dig the movie. There's no such thing as a Bill Paxton makes up for Newt constantly screaming, right?
With his screaming and whining.
Yeah, and then Medley Man wants to know what's your hottest take, Foz? And he doesn't really decipher. Hottest take about Return of the Living Dead or hottest take about whatever?
My hottest take, let's see. Coke Zero does not taste like regular Coke. It tastes like Zero.
Damn. Oh my goodness. That's pretty hot.
There you go, guys.
My hottest take is I don't think Bruce Springsteen's very cool. I don't like the music. That's my hottest take. All right. So we've any other performances we want to talk about? I mean, I think the guy that plays Ernie, let me find his name. Want to be respectful. Don Calfa. He's got that like Raul Julia kind of look, you know, a little bit of the sunken eyes kind of thing. I feel like I recognize him from a couple other bit parts. But him and Bert have some sort of history. Lovers?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, definitely. Bert and Ernie.
Possibly. I mean, Bert and Ernie are historically lovers.
It's a commentary on the puppets, on the Muppety puppets from Sesame Street. Yeah, and then Miguel. Oh, another thing about Miguel Nunez Jr. I was flipping around while editing last night, and I was like, oh, that terrible Street Fighter movie is on Netflix or whatever. I put that on. I had no idea that Miguel Nunez Jr. was in that movie. I mean, that movie is like star-studded, even though it's garbage. And then that's also kind of odd because I just said that Don Calfa looks a little like Raul Julia, who's also in the terrible Street Fighter movie.
Miguel pops up everywhere, man. He's in that Leprechaun in Space movie. He's just in everything. He's in I can't even think now. Is it Slam Dunk Ernest that he's in?
He might be in that one. I never saw Slam Dunk Ernest. He was in an episode of Lois and Clark. I think we mentioned that on another stream one time because watching that show, I was like, oh my God, it's those damn enchiladas. There he is.
Here's my Miguel story. I've never met the man. I've never been at a convention. He has been. But I'm going to give him a shout out here. One of the best rock bands out nowadays named Truck Stop. Everybody check out Truck Stop Music. The guitarist Jerry is text buddies with Miguel. And he knows him. And one night at a Truck Stop show, me and Jerry were hanging out by the merch table, and we were just bullshitting about Leprechaun stuff because it's Jerry's favorite franchise. And he goes, and I was wearing a Return of the Living Dead shirt, and he goes, "Oh man, I'm gonna snap a shot and send this to Miguel." And so I like hold up my shirt like this, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." Like 2 minutes later, Miguel's like, "Oh, tell him cool shirt," and like they started texting back and forth with me in the middle of it, and I'm like, "Okay." Miguel,
you got to get in on that chain.
Just entered the chat.
Yeah, get in on that chain, and then let's bring him on an episode of Movie Punks. We'll talk about A New Beginning. How about that? Because I met, the other.
Sorry, Davey. If I talk to him, I'm going to be talking about Living Single and his 2 appearances on there the entire time. I'm sorry.
He's like, wow, you have a really specific fandom. I think I'd like you to step away 100 feet at least. I'm going to get a court order.
If you're associated with Queen Latifah, I'm a fan. I'm just saying.
It's not pronounced Latifah? No, I'm just No, I know Queen Latifah. I invented Queen Latifah. Miguel Nunez Jr., what a cool little career too, because, and I don't mean like little career. I just mean that it seems like every movie that he shows up in, every, TV show, he is so memorable, another example of a guy that like, why didn't this guy blow up to like superstardom? Because I feel like he's very charismatic, really, really funny. He's got, a great way of, delivering lines and everything. I mean, he's fantastic.
I joke and talk about Juwanna Mann all the time, but honestly, he was the star of a major motion picture named Juwanna Mann. And also to that fact, he was in one of the most memorable videos to come out around that time. That Fat Joe, it was a Shanti song. What I think about you, or whatever. What's love got to do with it? I think Ja Rule's up in there or something like.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, like I'm out of the loop.
Joe, and he's coaching a team, and Miguel's in there like with the basketball. Like, come on, guys! And it's showing clips of Juwanna Mann. It was an MTV
so it's
staple.
From the soundtrack. Okay.
Yeah, it was an MTV staple, and so I'm like, I can't separate them. It's Juwanna Mann and the Fat Joe music video.
Gotcha. I'm totally ignorant of that. I must have been out of my MTV watching phase by the time Fat Joe came around.
2000, I'm going to say.
Yeah, I was probably done watching MTV in like 96 or 97. Like,
so you got Fat Joe with Big Pun. This was Fat Joe with Ja Rule. It's a bit different.
Yeah, I'm trying to I can't even. Fat Joe. I'm like, oh my gosh, Fat Joe existed at some point. Now just
he's
remembering
on
it.
every do you remember hip hop show ever. If there was an I Love the 90s still, he'd be
Oh
on there.
yeah. Yeah, he seems like kind of a phony, Fat Joe, I think.
Well, he did lose weight.
Sort of like DJ Khaled to me seems like a complete poser. Like he's like one of those guys that he went to one of those like, you know, rich people's kids, like, you know, grade schools in Miami where he went to school with a bunch of celebrities kids and stuff like that. And he just seems like a total poser. He was on Hot Ones and like bailed after Sriracha.
I hate
what
DJ
a dick.
Khaled so much. As a man who's spoken a rhyme or two over some beats, I will just say this. I hate DJ Khaled. And while I do love the Bad Boys new movies, and he cameos in both of those, if you haven't seen it, didn't know.
No, I'm not.
It really stops the movies dead when he shows up for his like one scene in each.
Yeah, I don't understand the allure. I think he's lazy. Maybe that's the allure, is people are like, wow, a guy that lazy can be rich and famous. Maybe I can too. Like, cause it's just, I don't know. His music, his beats. I don't understand the whole thing, but, we got some love for, speaking of characters, we got some love for Tarman here. Medley Man says Tarman is the scariest zombie in any movie to me. And Jamie says Tarman is the gnarliest looking zombie ever. Do you agree?
I could buy that. The hottest is in part 3, and so you need to watch that movie to find out. But I will agree with Tarman is the gnarliest. Okay,
I think my favorite, if I had to pick a favorite zombie of all time, it's got to be Bub from Day of the Dead. I just think the makeup's so cool, and I love like the personality that Bub seems to have, because it's so much more elevated than the other zombies in the Romero series. So I really dig that. Oh yeah, he's amazing. Like kind of talking, saying hello, Aunt Alicia, just, you know, goosebumps right away. The first time I saw that movie, I was like, and people told me this movie was bad, because everyone told me Day of the Dead was bad. And then I watched it and I was like, that's the best one I've seen, you know?
See, I guess I just didn't have people tell me stuff like that. I always hear nowadays like, Friday 5, when I was growing up, sucked because Jason wasn't in it, but I grew up and watched it and it was good. Same with Halloween 3. I never had anybody tell me any of that. I think my cousin just threw on movies and said, here, watch this. I was like, all right.
That's the way to do it, because then people's, you know, their opinions don't try to inform your opinion.
Right.
And we got the Octas popping in here saying 111 days until Halloween. We're rounding the corner.
111 more days till Halloween.
We're more than 2/3 the way there, guys. It's amazing. And Medley Man wants to know what. I'm going to star some of these questions that don't have to do with the film, just so that way we can hit them up once we're done talking about the movie. But we do have Matt Facci in the chat. What's happening, Matt? Great to see you.
What up, Foch?
Everyone's saying hello to Matt, and then I miss Headbangers Ball. Oh, we got some MTV talk. Yeah, Headbangers Ball, 120 minutes.
Hell
that was
yeah,
fun.
man.
Yeah. Oh, Jamie watched MTV launch in the theater, probably. Go ahead.
In the theatrical, everybody was watching that. Okay, Davey, I got a trivia question for you for no reason at all. I got a little trivia here for you. Okay. What was the first video to play on MTV?
Oh, it was the Boggles video killed the radio star. Yeah.
And do you know
Boggles or Buggles? Buggles?
I always pronounce it Buggles, something like that.
Boggle is a game.
I realize now that I'm kind of forgetting this. But I believe, and the internet would have to correct me if I'm wrong, and they will. Do you remember what the first M2 music video was? After years and years, they said, okay, we'll do another channel with just music videos, and then they stopped showing music videos on it too.
I don't even, I'm trying to remember like what year it came out. Like, is it some like Blink 182 thing or some?
96.
Is it because
96? It was before. It was before all that.
Okay, and didn't M2 usually play like lesser mainstream? Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I remember correctly, it was 2 turntables and a microphone by Beck. Was the first M2 music video. But I used to watch M2 all the time. I would purposely stay home and video videotape videos. First time I ever saw MXPX, Teenage Politics was there, and that's how I discovered MXPX. Midday.
And that's before, because Chick Magnet, they got a little bit of notoriety, so that's even before that. I remember
watching the world premiere of Chick Magnet on 120 Minutes with Matt Pinfield. There you go, Davey.
I love 120 Minutes with Matt Pinfield.
Welcome to 120 Minutes. I'm Matt Pinfield.
Like, that's where I first saw All. I saw them play Million Bucks live on 120 Minutes, and then they would play like the first time I saw the music video for Damn It. But I could only watch 120 Minutes during the summer, or if we had Monday off from school, because in Alaska it didn't air until like 11 or 12 at night on Sunday. So it was like really late, you know.
On 120 Minutes, I saw the world premiere of Damn It by Blink-182. First time I ever heard of Blink-182. And I remember watching When I Get Old by Descendants video. I don't know if it was the premiere, but they were playing on there. And it's the first time I ever heard the Descendants. So there's 3 of my all-time favorite bands, all on 120 Minutes with Matt Pinfield.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, that show was great. Even if I didn't love everything, it was the only show that would kind of let you see something that was truly alternative. Because even when they were pushing the alternative thing in the 90s, it was still major labels. So to me, a band like Smashing Pumpkins is called alternative, but they seem pretty mainstream rock and roll. Like there's nothing too wild about Smashing Pumpkins. But speaking of, not speaking of characters, speaking of music and punk rock, man, the soundtrack to this film is unbelievable. Not only just like the score and everything that they have going on in the background, which is great, but like the Cramps and TSOL, the Damned, what do we got? Tall Boys here, the Flesh Eaters.
Is it Grave 45 or 45 Grave?
45 Graves got that.
I always want to say Grave 45. That's one of my all-time favorite songs. I got that album, and I hate to admit it, I kind of just play that song on the album. I'm sorry, but
you're one of those, and then you just take it out, and then you're just done, or you just go back and play it again.
I try to listen to it, and then like you have to like go back to it. I'm sorry, guys. But no,
it's fine.
This is such a good soundtrack. The Cramps and everything on there.
Yeah.
I love it. Did I tell you how I first got the soundtrack, Davey, and what edition it was? This is a fun little story.
No, you gotta tell me. Cassette tape. What do we got?
Like 15 or so, and my mother had picked me up from school, and we were driving somewhere, and in our little small town of nowhere, West Virginia, a new antique store had opened. And antique stores here are just like dirt floor. You can buy an old quilted Bible verse, something or other, right? It's nothing. So I'm looking over there. I'm looking through the junk, and it's got like old Travis Tritt and Reba McEntire CDs and cassette tapes, and just randomly, the Return of the Living Dead soundtrack on CD. But wait, it's the Japanese edition.
Wow.
Why in the world was that in Logan, West Virginia, the Japanese edition? And I was like, it blew my mind. I bought it immediately. It played perfectly in the van on the way home. I remember Mom looking at me like, what are we listening to? And be like, don't worry about it, Mom. And like I wish I had it with me. It's boxed up right now. But if memory serves me, it's the halved up zombie woman is the main close up, and it says Return of the Living Dead logo, but then it has like a bunch of Japanese written all over it. And on the back, a couple pictures of the from the movie, and in English the title tracks and everything, then more Japanese around it. And I always like just displayed it with my stuff. It's like really cool. Still to this day, it's boxed up right now.
Does it have like any extra tracks being an import?
I don't think so, because I remember years later, whenever, like, because I remember, I'm sure at the time I like found the regular CD and compared it, and it's like, oh, okay, it's the same thing. So I never rebought it on CD, but years later I bought the vinyl, and there wasn't like any difference that I remember. And that's usually how I listen to it now, is on vinyl or on my Apple Music or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, the vinyl is the best way to listen to something like this. You get all that grit and grime of the, the crackles and everything of the record that matches the genre and everything like that. Yeah, it is crazy whenever you see those, imported CDs. It's like So did somebody just buy this and not like it? Was there maybe somebody from in the military that, you know, lived in Japan
That's
for a
what I
while
was
and picked it
wondering.
up out there and then came back to West Virginia? Like, who the heck knows?
Because
right?
it was readily available. The American regular edition was readily available. And I'm like, how did this happen, Davey? I don't know.
But it is really cool when you see those. I worked at a record store, a little tiny independent record store in my hometown when I was in high school. And we would get some of those imports. And it was really, I mean, you know, they're a few dollars more and everything. Usually they had a couple extra tracks. That's why I was asking.
Right.
But I loved how they would always have like the little piece of cardboard that would kind of be on the outside of the jewel case and everything like that. Yeah. And this soundtrack is like, I mean, we're talking, you know, 85, like you had said, new wave had sort of taken over, right? Punk at this point in the mainstream is like going on the end of its first decade, pretty much, as far as like mainstream punk goes. And, or at least being known by the mainstream people as existing. But man, you know, they really, between the last couple movies we've covered with this one and Repo Man, it's like you put these soundtracks together and it's a good introduction to that genre and can kind of give you like the vibes and the feelings that this movie's trying to give you.
Around this time is what I call in the public consciousness of punk rock is the Crocodile Dundee punks, where it's like okay, they dress like punks, they have mohawks, they're going to be background characters or punchlines, and that's what punk rock is. While new wave is like you know, can actually be successful and be like Cyndi Lauper and stuff like that, and just be considered pop and rock.
Yeah, the fashion punk. There, you know that band Jughead's Revenge. They have that whole like fashion punk. It's the latest thing. You hate your mom, you hate your dad. It's part of the game. Like that kind of stuff cracks me up. Like and you're exactly right. Like you know, more power to folks that wear that uniform. Because you know, on some level, I'm sort of like, well, hey, if that's really who you are, then that's great. And I don't feel the need to necessarily like replicate that. I always, you know, I've been a huge fan of punk rock music since like 94, 95 is like 95 is when I really fell over into all the epitaphs and all the skate punk stuff and started listening to stuff that had come before it. But I was always just looked like a relatively normal person. I just sort of always thought of like, well, that's the part of me that's punk is like my musical taste. And it's not like not everything has to match just that, you know, part of me. I love horror movies. I'm not always wearing a horror shirt, but sometimes I am. Yeah. I'm not as cool as you, Foz. Okay.
I gotta admit, man, this is the evolution of young Foz. Was when I was a kid, I saw punks on TV. I wanted to dress like a punk. Then I learned what punk was. I started wanting to dress like punk even more. It was in the heyday of grunge, so I was really grunge first. I had like the shaved up under long hair, had the flannel shirts and the Nirvana shirts. But then about 8th grade, when I found like green, you know, I had Green Day shirts and stuff like that, and Rancid shirts. I could start going more that way. All of high school in my 20s, it was like punk to the extreme. And at some point in my late 20s and working nonstop your whole life, you're just like, I'm tired punk, where it's like I have the vest with all the stuff on it. I have the leather jacket with all the stuff on it. I would love to have a mohawk again. I would love to do all that stuff. Love it.
Yeah.
But you know what? You're getting a horror movie or a band t-shirt. You're getting a beard because I don't want to shave. You're getting just a short hair that will look proper at a job, and then I don't have to spike once I leave.
Sure.
And then you're getting Dickies and some Chucks or some Vans. It's what I call I'm tired punk.
Yeah, you can't, you know, it takes a lot of energy to keep up that whole thing. And I miss my mohawk as well, but this isn't the worst thing ever. But I do, man, especially in the summers, the mohawk is nice because it's kind of air conditioning. Right. Yeah. And when you've got like this moppy curly hair, it's just like it does all the work for me. So
we have the same hair, I think, Davey. Definitely.
Yeah. And the beard, you know, I may have said this on the channel before. I just think that if Mother Nature gifts you with the ability to grow a beard, it's your friggin' responsibility to do it. And when I see people shave that have that gorgeous 5 o'clock shadow, I'm like, dude, it would take you like 4 days to grow a beard. Like, why are you doing this disservice to yourself? grow that damn beard. It's just the way I feel about it. Maybe that's my hottest take, Medley Man.
Medley Man.
If you can grow a beard, you grow that damn beard. I believe so strongly in it. That's what I'm going to run for president. That's going to be one of the platforms. People are going to be like, I'm going to vote for this guy because that's crazy, but fun crazy.
Cody's sitting over there stroking his beard going, yep, I hear you.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, no, and I wish I could kind of get it bigger, but once it starts interfering with the eating process, I have to trim everything back. So what can you do? This is some interesting, facial hair fashion talk from the movie punks. We should do little shorts where we do like tips.
Okay. Like Liberty Spike tips. And
movie punk tips. Just let that beard fucking grow. And then that's like the video, that's it.
I could give really good tips on how to get coarse hair like ours to stay straight for Liberty Spikes on your mohawk. I got some tips for that.
Egg whites and Crisco. What do you got?
No, it's called, I heard. Aquanet, and make your best friend hold your hair while you're still spraying it in the bathroom at the punk rock show. That's
hilarious. And then when you need to get the Liberty Spikes out, you just use Soul Glow from Coming to America, and it just wets it down for you. Fight the Good Fight. I wanted to share this this chat here. Fight the Good Fight's got a statue of the half zombie from Return of the Living Dead. That must be gorgeous. What scale is it? I'm curious to know. Is it like a full scale, half scale, maybe even a half scale?
Love to have something cool. Like that, but it's like, where do you put it?
Yeah. Well, you put it in your horror room if you have one. So Fight the Good Fights knows what's up because they've got a horror room. But that, that's another thing. I'm glad that was brought up in the chat because that's another thing that separates this movie from the other movies that had come before it. And oddly enough, that whole idea of like, moaning for brains, like a zombie moaning for brain, that comes from this movie, even though it's sort of in the pop culture, like consciousness, maybe. Yeah, exactly. And maybe it was used in like advertisements and stuff like that. But as far as films go, at least to my knowledge, this is the first time of that ever being brought up. And then there's actually an explanation of that, which is, just another layer in, again, like a relatively silly movie that's punk as fuck and all that stuff, and then they're kind of throwing out some new canon for zombie lore.
I like it whenever Miguel and the other guy are like trying to figure out what's going on, and they're finally like take out the switchblade, like, yeah man, you better start talking. I'm like, there's that Crocodile Dundee punk right there.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And then I love when they're trying to they're trying to come up with a plan to escape the mortuary, and Miguel and Clue are going to go get the cop car that's still running. And of course, it's the classic movie trope where Miguel's like, I'm driving. And then Clue looks back at him and he's like, I'm driving. And then Miguel's like, fuck you, man. And then they completely drop it. But I'm like, that's the most like, talk about, your kind of stereotypical, that's the most like a guy thing to do in an older movie is like two guys bickering about who's going to drive.
I'd always just say, okay, please drive. Please.
Yeah. I always think of National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1. Where they like Sam Jackson and Emilio are going back and forth, like, I'm driving. And then they play like rock, paper, scissors for it. And Emilio's like, I'm driving. And then Samuel L. Jackson just punches him in the face. And he just looks up and goes, okay, you drive. It would have been interesting if you bring Emilio over to Return of the Living Dead from Repo Man.
He's drinking his beer that's just labeled beer, and he sees all the zombies, and he just goes, "Fuck that!" and throws the beer can.
He's flying around in a green car, like watching the whole. What are those guys doing?
Can't believe he used to hang out with those guys.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go. It all ties together. Toronto Freddy says Return of the Living Dead and Shaun of the Dead are my favorite zombie flicks. Yeah, I mean, those are good picks, man. Yeah. Yeah, I love both of these. I may, even though I really do love comedies, like it's one of my favorite genres of film. I do think I like the more serious zombie movies, but they just get an edge for me. It's not like, I mean, the first time I watched Shaun of the Dead, to me, it just felt like such a great love letter to everything that had come before it. So even though it's comedic, I felt like they handled the gore pretty well.
Oh, and it's beautiful.
even in Return of the Living Dead, like, you know, maybe not everything stands up, especially if you're watching on Blu-ray. Maybe you see some detail you wouldn't have, but there are still some effects here that stand the test of time. The one that stands out to me is when the one police officer goes up to the paramedic that's lying on the ground, and you see like the brains like kind of splurging out of the skull, and like,
oh yeah,
that to me still looks amazing. I don't know, is there an effects moment in the film that sort of, you know, stands out to you, Foz?
Well, we were talking earlier about the mouse stretching on Tarman. But if you remember, Linnaeus Quigley's mouth like unhinges, and like it takes the whole guy's head.
Yeah, and I think what it is I think it's just a still mask. And I think the way they shoot it is they try to just like, she's moving as they go into the shot, because I noticed like it doesn't really move. So they use it in these really quick shots. It's really clever. But yeah, I totally know what you mean. Like it's this elongated, you know, gross mouth. Even the makeup that they do like on her neck and on her face, like once she's turned, is pretty gnarly as well.
I tell you what I can't do though, and my wife was like half watching with me, and I was like, okay, there's going to be something come up. Don't look. The half dog. I can't do the half dog, man. It kills me every time. And I'm like, and like if she would have just walked in or like not been prepared on that, I would have gotten so much shit.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because I felt sad the most recent, like I watched it last week and then watched it again today just to, you know, freshen everything up. And yeah, both times with the dogs, I'm just like, even before they turn, I don't like seeing the half dogs. So even when they point up at them and stuff, I'm just like, oh man, like it just makes me so bummed out.
We watched this. Well, I watched this. My wife like was on TikTok, not really paying attention on 4th of July. And that was a special day, David. Let me tell you, we watched classics, American classics. It was The Forever Purge, because that was the only Purge we hadn't seen yet. We watched Legally Blonde 2, Red, White, and something.
Blonde.
And
Red,
blonde.
White, and Blonde.
Perfect. It's right there.
Yeah.
And because that's the one where it's like, it makes me, you look like the 4th of July, you make me want a hot dog real bad. It was that. My wife wanted to watch that. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to end with the 4th of July staple, you know, Return of the Living Dead. And so that's how we got ready.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is. It's a great film to watch right around that time. It's like Jaws and Return of the Living Dead are there. Those are my 4th of July movies. Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great lineup. Never seen Legally Blonde 2 though. I think I've seen the first
Well, I'll
one.
tell you this, Davey. It's not as good as Legally Blonde 1, but is better than the straight to video Legally Blonde 3.
Damn, I was hoping in part 3 was going to be better than part 2.
No, there were twins that were her cousins.
Oh gosh, I can't even keep
up
with
I worked at movie
that.
gallery during that time.
Oh, there you go. Fight the Good Fight wants to says, aren't beards itchy? I think that's what you mean when you say they. Everyone says that.
Who you make it out with that has a beard?
They're all people that don't have beards that say they're itchy. It's interesting. It might I don't know. I've never, even people say like stubble and stuff, but I'm like, I always felt like with shaving it was more trouble than it was worth. Yeah. You know, you get like ingrown hairs and razor burn and stuff like that. To me feels like I'd rather not have like a sunburn feeling on my face.
And I'm just going to be honest. My wife hates it when I go too short with it because she wants it grown out a little, and she has me put this oil stuff in there that smells good and it feels nice. So once again, when you make out with somebody with a beard, make sure they're well refined and oiled. And that's
I get I totally get the short thing, because it might be a little scratchy if you're smooching. Medley Man wants to know, is Return of the Living Dead your favorite horror movie series, Foz?
Series is one of my top all-time horror movies. I would say at a series, for the bulk of it, when you have 4 and 5 that are utter trash garbage fires, 3 is amazing for its own reasons, 2 is funny, and 1's an icon. It's hard to put that into series words. I would say as far as the series goes, Nightmare on Elm Street For me, there's just so much to it, so much that I love, good and the bad. It's probably my favorite series.
Yeah, I'd probably put a whole bunch of movie series ahead of Return of the Living Dead. But if we're talking zombie movies, I put this one. I think when I did my top 10 with Barry from Wolfman's Got Nards, I think it was in the bottom part of the top 10. It might have been right around the middle. But again, I put mostly the more serious ones up at the top on that one. But yeah, I really do. I mean, this movie, can watch it every year. I think the copy that we have on Blu-ray is one that I saw at like a Best Buy bin like 4 or 5 years ago, and it was like $6. And I was like, it was those circular bins. You never know what you're gonna get. It's like Forrest Gump with his box of chocolates. And I'm thumbing through and I see this and I'm like, oh my God, Kate, look. And she's like, yeah, so. And I'm like, this movie's so good. We have to like buy it and we have to go home and watch it tonight. And she's just like, okay.
If we're talking our journey with the home video, I had a VHS, but I don't know at what point in high school I finally bought the VHS. I'd seen the movie, but and then whenever it came out in the bare bones DVD, one of the early DVDs, I got it. Then when it came out in the special, so we're already counting 2. Then when it came out in the special edition DVD, I got it. And then somewhere there was another DVD with a special slipcase or something. I got it. And so then whenever the Blu-ray came out, which is the same, but it's on Blu-ray, I got it. And then whenever the Scream Factory one came out, I got that. And then whenever the 4K came out, I got that. And also, if you want to add in the digital voodoo code or whatever, I'm sure I purchased somewhere along the way. I've had about 8 copies. Man,
you got an addiction. You have a Return of the Living Dead addiction. I think I had a copy on DVD back in the day, but I got rid of a lot of my DVDs. I've just got, this is the one I picked up from Best Buy back in the day. Yeah. I like that alternative art. I don't think they give you the option. Yep, no other art in there, just that one. So it would have been cool to be able to put the Trash and Suicide art on there, but I'll still take Tar Man. He is, like Jamie had said, one of the goriest looking, like just a total icon, absolutely. And but yeah, Foz, what is that, 8 copies, 9 copies?
About 8 copies. I've had 2 copies of the soundtrack part 2. I had the VHS and then the DVD and then the Scream Factory Blu-ray, so that's like 3 of it. Wow. And a voodoo code, so like 4 of it. And then same with part 3. I've had about 3 copies of it. Yeah.
You need a Laserdisc of it. Laserdisc and Betamax, and then you've got, and then we'll get a reel-to-reel after that.
I actually still have a Betamax collection, Davey, from my childhood.
That's pretty awesome.
Ghostbusters, Whitewater Summer is one of my favorites from childhood. I just got a Crocodile Dundee because I've mentioned it like 3 times tonight. I've got a whole bunch still. They're boxed up.
Hell yeah. Fight the Good Fight jumps in and says the half zombie is a 7-inch, hangs on the wall. That's pretty awesome. Super cool collective makes it. I dig it. Toronto Freddy's got send more paramedics. And then send more cops. It's great.
Yeah.
It's funny to me, like the one paramedic that gets in the cab of the van and is trying to get out, the zombie just rushes him from like the other door. And then from the shotgun door, and then he jumps out and they're all surrounding him. But then the guy in the back, no zombies are eating the guy. Like it's so cute. They still want to like fit in a jump scare. So they just, write it in that way to where there's a cute little jump scare there.
They'll get to that guy later.
Yeah, exactly. Like we're not too concerned about him. And then Toronto Freddy also chimes in with the Edgar Wright is a fucking genius. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Really good stuff.
I believe that.
Tarman terrified me as much as Michael Myers Halloween 2 did when I was a kid. That, and I think that's what I missed out with this movie, is seeing it as a kid, because I've always had just like a blast with this movie. It just kind of feels like a party. And so I've never had that experience because I was, in my late teens when I first watched it. So this was just like kind of watching like Dead Alive or something, where you're just like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's so much fun. But I do love, like, you imagine how slender the actor has to be to like put on all that stuff, right?
Oh,
And
sure.
still look skinny, and like the creepy kind of way that he's moving and stuff like that. It is that we could have done a whole stream just talking about Tarman, especially with the love we're getting here in the chat from Tarman.
You mentioned Dead Alive. That would be a great double feature right there. Dead Alive and Return of the Living Dead.
Yeah, it absolutely would. Yeah, Dead Alive, I think, is one of the greatest. You know, I think that was in my top. That might have been like my third or second in my top zombie. You know, because that movie to me it's got all that humor, all the gore and everything, clearly inspired by movies like The Return of the Living Dead and, you know, Evil Dead 2 and all of that. Yeah, that would be a fun one for us to cover at some point. I don't know if it's punk rock, but maybe we could talk about it on some other stream, right?
Well, I'm just saying, what's more punk rock than some New Zealand indie gore? I'm just saying.
I love that when he's like punching the baby, he's got the baby zombie in the bag, and he walks past the ladies on the bench, and he looks back and he goes, "Hyperactive." Like, I don't know what it is. That was parenting in the 90s.
I want a clip of Davey going, I love when he's punching the baby.
Yeah. I love
that's the clip we need.
Punching the baby. Davey Deathray thinks he can be president because he says, grow that damn beard. But really, he thinks it's fun to punch babies. Do you want someone like him running your country?
We're here to shave down his platform.
Yeah, exactly. Tell Davey that no presidents have had beards since Ulysses S. Grant, and to get on with it. He's out of touch.
I'm just going to say, I bet Clinton would have had a great beard.
I would love for beards to come back because it used to be a sign of status. Let's bring them back, guys.
Did you ever watch the second Independence Day?
No.
It's terrible. But you've seen the first Independence Day, right?
I love it. Yeah, it's
okay.
fun.
So you know the president from Independence Day, what's his name? Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman. Yeah.
Yeah. He's in the second Independence Day, and he's supposed to be looking all ragged now and everything. And he had a beard. So the whole time you're talking about that, all I can think of is Independence Day resurgence and Bill Pullman with a beard.
Yeah. What president falls like? What ex-president like falls on hard times? That sounds ridiculous. But now I kind of feel like I need to watch it because I love Bill Pullman. I love it when he's good, and I like it when he's bad too. So if he's, you know, in a movie like Lake Placid or something like that, like I'll take that too. But Spaceballs, I mean, that's one of my favorites right there. I mean, he's charming as all get out in Spaceballs. I'll take all the Bill Pullman you got. Necro Mechanimal, welcome to the chat, says, I caught this on TV as a kid at the mortuary burning the body scene. The cemetery resurrection part scared me, so I turned it off. Years after, I spent trying to find the movie again, not knowing the title. That is an interesting thing about life in the 80s and 90s, is if you didn't have that either TV guide or the local listings in your paper, and you just saw something, it almost turns into that like Mandela effect kind of thing, where like 5 or 6 years later, you're at a sleepover with your friends and you're all trying to figure out what the hell that movie was. You know, you all kind of saw it at different times.
Yeah, and then time is added to it, and you see things that didn't actually happen in the movie because you're trying to remember it. Yeah,
or you put a couple movies together because probably like I was one of those kids, you know, I think I've talked about this pretty freely, that would watch like those USA Up All Nights, especially around the Friday the 13th weekends and like the Halloween weekends where they would just marathon those films. And then any weekend I could, you know, when I was a little kid, I was staying up till like 3 or 4 almost routinely in the summer, just so I could stay up and watch like schlocky stuff on USA Network. So I'm right there with you, Necro Mechanimal, as far as, you know, it didn't happen with Return of the Living Dead, but I've had very similar things where I'm like, what the hell movie was that? You know?
I had a thing with Up All Night, and they used to show Zapped Again all the time. A 90s, you know, kind of sex comedy. But I had no idea until I was like a almost graduated teenager that there was Zapped. And
it's a sequel.
And like I should have known, but when you're a kid, you're just like, oh, what's this movie? Cool. And like it took literally until this year for me to finally watch Zapped, only because I was remembering Zapped again and how much I wanted to watch it, and I dug it up and I watched it, and I was like, I guess I better finally watch Zapped. I was better off not watching it. Zapped again is
it's
a
worse?
way better movie.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It's the Charles in Charge gang. It's
Yeah.
Chachi and his best friend.
Yeah, I've never seen Zapped. It just always seems so like corny to me, but not in a. I don't know. Like I was always more of like a Police Academy, Porky's.
But that's what Zapped
Ski
again
Patrol
really
kind of guy.
Is like Ski Patrol, Police Academy, that type of stuff. Like just a high school horny movie, you know. And that's it. Really felt like. Did you ever watch Rock and Roll High School Forever, the Corey Feldman one?
Yeah,
it really feels like that.
Yeah, Comedy
and that's
Central.
right up my alley. One of my favorite movies. So.
Yeah, that one's pretty cheesy, but in a really fun way. Yeah, those did Corman produce that one as well?
I believe so. The only way to get it right now is on a 2-pack DVD, 2 movies on 1 disc with another Corey Feldman movie that I watched the one time when I got the DVD, and I haven't watched it since. I don't remember. But I love Forever. I had the VHS forever because you couldn't get it on DVD, and I would love to see a Blu-ray of it. Talk about a good soundtrack. Yeah.
Maybe Corey Feldman should start selling those on tour. He should make them himself.
Mojo Nixon is in that movie. I love Mojo Nixon appearances in film and television.
I don't even know who Mojo Nixon is. Now I have to look it up.
You might know. Did you ever hear the song "Punk Rock Girl" by Dead Milkmen? And there's a part in it where they say they went into the local record shop and asked if they had Mojo Nixon. They say, no, he don't work here. And they said, if you don't have Mojo Nixon, then your store could use some fixin'. That's literally part of that song. But Mojo Nixon is just like a good like rockabilly guy. He recently passed away. Okay. But he was in a bunch of movies in like the 90s.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm looking him up right now. I'm like, wow, I've never even heard of this guy. I'll have to check it out. Toronto Freddy watched Axel F. Really awesome. Kate and I watched it and really enjoyed it. I was kind of surprised at how much
I've heard
I liked
good things, surprisingly.
Yeah.
I was just put off by a lot of other stuff, so I didn't watch it, but I'll give it a try.
Yeah. The comedy, they don't pull any punches on the comedy. It feels like it fits right in with the mid to late 80s vibe of the first two. There's you know, Eddie's got high energy, like his energy, he's like really popping. He's not afraid to, they're not afraid to put a couple N-bombs in there when he's making his jokes, which I'm like, you know, I applaud because I'm like, hey, if that's what the guy wants to do, if that's what the character always did and always worked within this world, then we need to, you know, stay true to that. Not everybody uses that kind of language, but some people do. So sometimes in movies, you have to have language that maybe some people don't like, but aren't we trying to create something that's in a way like kind of true to life, at least at times? So
if nothing else, it's brought Judge Reinhold back to the forefront to where I see him on interviews now. And I'm like, I thought you were dead, bro. I'm glad to see you.
Yeah, he was on like Rich Eisen and everything. Yeah, I've been seeing him pop around all over the place. And I felt like it's always great seeing Kevin Bacon. I really enjoy him as an actor. I feel like he has never really let go of trying to stretch himself and do new things.
Is he in Axel F? I didn't know.
He is. Yeah, he's one of the main characters.
So let me ask you, Davey, did you watch my current, and I'm sure will be at the end of the year too, favorite movie of the year yet, Maxine?
I have not seen Maxine yet. I know.
Dude,
we had to make some hard choices. We had to make some hard decisions. So we picked Long Legs this time over Maxine. But I'm going to see Maxine as quickly as I can.
I won't give any spoilers, but this is what I need to say to the internet about this.
Oh, no. Here we go.
I don't know what the fuck y'all's talking about whenever you come on here about, I was disappointed in Maxine. It was the weakest of the three. Fuck y'all. Foss said that. Tell him Foss said that. Fuck y'all. That's a 5-star fucking masterpiece. In the trailer, it says, hey, here's the movie. You go to the movie. You get what was in the trailer. 5-star masterpiece is what the trailer was. It's exactly what the movie is. Well, I'm just saying, what do you want to go in and not get what you saw in the trailer?
Yeah. And I have seen some folks that are pretty lukewarm on it, but I think I have seen more people that were like, this is really good. Like
it blew me away.
You know,
I like X. Pearl's really cool. My wife really likes that one. I'm not biggest fan of that era and period pieces and stuff, but I still liked it. It was cool. X was a cool slasher. This is exactly my movie. It was if this was an actual 80s movie, it'd be one of my favorites, just like Return of the Living Dead.
Awesome.
Now this is my favorite 2024 film. I love it. My favorite everything. Right now, all I can think is Maxine. I'm sorry. I'm all about it. I love it.
I need to check it out. I love like the whole, like I love the 80s vibe, and of course like the giallo kind of thing that the show in the trailer. I think it looks pretty, pretty interesting. And I think it's really cool that, for Ty West to do a trilogy within like 3 years, releasing these movies in such quick succession, and then they all kind of have a different sort of vibe and feel, but they all it's almost like you can watch them as one-offs or you can put them all together, which I think is really cool.
Like, everything about that movie is exactly my vibe and what I want and what I search for in movies. So whenever I get promised this in a trailer and then I go and it delivers, I'm on cloud 9, 10, 11. My cloud goes up to 11, Davey.
There you go. Yeah. Well, I'll have to check it out if it gets the resounding endorsement from Foz Rotten. Medley Man wants to know, because you had said earlier that if you had to pick your favorite like series, it would be A Nightmare on Elm Street. He wants to know what your favorite Nightmare movie is. All right.
It's the Dream Warriors.
There you go. And Toronto Freddy's right there. And Medley Man says that's the right answer. Well, there you go. And the remake is my most unfavorite. Yeah, the remake is really, really rough.
Wait, they made a remake of that? Sorry, I must have blocked that out or something.
I forced myself to watch it for my ranking. It was pretty rough.
That's a one and done. No matter how many box sets they'll come in, I'll literally never watch that again.
Well,
theatrical and done.
That was my second time trying to watch. The first time I put it on, after the first scene, I was like, I'm done. I don't like this already. And so I had to go back and finish.
I think the first scene was actually what's his name? The villain from Highlander, the sheriff from Pet Sematary 2. He does a SpongeBob voice.
Oh,
was he
Tom
in that?
Kenny?
No. Oh God, he was the Krugen or whatever in Highlander.
Are you talking about Clancy?
Clancy Brown? He's in that opening
maybe
shot of all those parents trying to burn Freddy or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I remember getting all excited in the theater, like, all right, Clancy Brown's in this. We're going to have it, man. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
No.
And the parents are like hardly in it. It's really weird that they're like, when they come back, I'm like, oh yeah, the parents are in this movie. Because in the first movie, they play a little bit of a bigger role. At least the mother, like Nancy's mom, plays a little bit of a bigger role. But I felt like in the remake, they really sort of like abandoned that idea. Yeah, the remake.
I have no memory of anything else besides that with the parents.
Yeah, the remake just really bad. Oh, I guess Piz said that he thought Maxine was boring. Whatever. What can you do? I
love Piz.
I love Piz too.
We can agree to disagree, but
that's the thing is like, people are gonna have their different like. As long as I feel like if I'm with somebody about 70 to 80% of the time, then I'm like, I think that we pretty much have the same taste. And then there's those little cracks where we have differences in taste,
Actually, wait, Davey. I actually messaged Piz and told him happy birthday today. So let me kayfabe this and try to get some views. Listen here, Piz Al. I'll meet you anytime, anywhere at the Kentucky KFC Dome, brother, and we'll have our Maxine match. Okay,
there you go. Perfect. Cutting promos. Jamie says, I want to see Maxine so bad, but I have to travel too far to see it. My local theater is annoying me. Yeah.
Bro, same. My local theater had both X and Pearl, and then they didn't get Maxine, and we asked them why, and they said because X and Pearl didn't make enough for them to book Maxine. So I had to go to the next town over, 45 minutes away. And so it took longer than I wanted to see it, but it's worth it. It's worth the trip.
Okay. I didn't know you were in that. So a metropolitan area is about 45 minutes away?
Yes. I live about 45 minutes to an hour outside of Charleston or Capital. Okay. And that is to say, we're in the middle of nowhere, but there's a golden dome in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Golden Dome.
Yes, that is our. You can look this up. Charleston, West Virginia, our state capital, has this big golden dome over it.
Gotcha.
And it's real gaudy.
Yeah, gaudy. I saved some chats from earlier, just while we were still talking about the movie, but Medley Man wants to know, what are your favorite Halloween movies? He probably knows what mine are because he's been on other streams. So I'm guessing he's asking you, Foz.
4, I think overall is my favorite. I'll just say this. It's like when you're ranking Nightmare on Elm Street or Friday the 13th or whatever. The original is the original. They're classic. I have a hard time ranking them in with the other stuff. So when someone asks me what my favorite Halloween is, I'll just say Halloween's awesome. It's over here. Now let's talk the sequels. Halloween 4 to me can't be beat. It's awesome. And then Halloween 6, because it is exactly whenever I was that age. And I said this whenever the new Halloween started coming out. Everybody has their Halloween. That you were that age that you went with your friends to go see it. It was your Halloween. And while I grew up with 4 and I love 4, my Halloween was Halloween 6, Curse of Michael Myers. Theatrical. I really don't care for the producer's cut that much. I watched it. It's okay. But I'm a guy who went and saw it at the theater. I watched it 100 million times on VHS. I like my theatrical cut.
Yeah, I like 6 a lot too. I think like 6 is growing on me, whereas like H2O is sliding. Every time I go back and rewatch them, and it doesn't, I talk about Halloween all the time, but it's like it doesn't mean that I don't like H2O. It's just that some of these sequels, I just notice things about them the more I watch them, where I'm like, yeah, maybe I don't need to watch this one as much as like. But honestly, Medley Man, every October, I'm watching every single one. Even Resurrection gets a spin in the PlayStation. That's just how it is. I mean, part of it is like, it's almost like some of those like kind of bad Friday the 13th movies where it's like, these are still really fun. Like it doesn't like, even though like Friday the 13th part, like even part 3 and part 5, like I think there are way better movies in the series, but I think those movies have like really fun elements, and I always want to go back and revisit those fun elements.
Are we talking Halloween or Friday?
With Friday the 13th, and then it's like, so when I think about Halloween Resurrection in that sense, where I'm like, it doesn't mean that I think it's a good movie. Sometimes it's just fun to put it on and be like, oh my God, this is so bad. Like it's, I get enjoyment out of that.
I gotta say this. We were talking about it earlier with Miguel and everything. I know people want to give crap to Friday 13 Part 5 because it's not real Jason. Well, you know what? It's one of the best damn slasher films out there.
Yeah.
It's one of the best damn films of that franchise. It's just a damn good movie. I love Part 5, and I will defend that to the death. I'm just saying.
And I think like, honestly, what bums me out with Part 5 is like the censorship on the kills. I think that's like what takes it down for me. It has nothing to do with the way the film was written and with what the crew did. It came at that time where the MPAA was starting to gut these slasher movies, and so it's really odd. 7. Yeah. Oh my God, 7's really bad. Jason Takes Manhattan is really bad too, but 7 is the worst, and it's really a shame because they finally had a special effects guy in John Carl Buechler, who actually made the Curse of Michael Myers mask. He directed the film, and then they gut all the good stuff. And yeah, I think for me, it's odd. Like Friday the 13th Part 5 is like, you have all this nudity and you do have some blood, but there's some kills where like you don't see anything. Like the waitress that gets like the axe in the stomach, I think you see the axe like on the ground or when it gets pulled out. Like you don't see, so I'm sort of like, that to me is what would make a movie like A New Beginning so much better. And it's not anyone's fault.
All right, Davey, you just gave me an idea. The top most punk rock killings in Friday the 13th series. I will say that the New Wave Girl dancing in Part 5 is the second most punk rock moment. Well, I will say punk rock moments in a Friday the 13th film. Can you name the number 1 most punk rock moment in a Friday the 13th film?
I mean, the way, like, I think there's something about, I feel like you might be thinking the guitar to the head. in Jason Takes Manhattan, but I think
That's
it might be.
That's my third.
I think it might be in the disco in Jason Takes Manhattan. Him slamming that girl down. The Asian actress. I don't know.
Right.
To me, that is like pretty damn punk. I don't know. Jason's a pretty punk killer.
I should have rephrased that as punk moments. I was just thinking of the punks trying to fuck with him after he kicked the
greasers.
Yeah. Well, there's some punks in there. There was a mohawk in there, and the jukebox goes jukebox like I'm an old man.
The jukebox.
The boombox goes flying, and the jukebox, and he just turns around and does the thing. So that's pretty punk. But the new wave girl dancing, that is a pretty punk rock scene.
That song always gets stuck in my head. There's a man with no light in his eyes. Like, I don't know what it like. That is some crazy goth disco from the 80s. Let's see here. Toronto Freddy. Davey, what did you think of the screen name I gave your better half? You know what I think of it, Toronto Freddy, because I replied. He called her Thriller Killer Kate, and I absolutely love it. I want that to be her handle, as it were. Eli Cortez wants to know if we've seen stop motion. I have not, Eli.
No.
I've heard really good things about it, though. I think he followed it up with It's Like Demons is punk rock versus Demon 2, which is more that he was talking about the punk stuff there. Okay.
Sorry, we gotta watch Demons at some point. I think Demons has definitely earned a spot for movie.
Is that Argento?
No, I don't believe so. I thought
it was.
Is it? It's somebody like that. It is somebody. Internet save me.
Dario Argento presents. So
but he didn't direct it.
Lamberto Bava. So I don't know if that's Mario Bava's son or brother or who it is, but I love the Mario Bava stuff.
I'll be dead honest. When it comes to Italian films, I love them, but it all starts to blur together to me. But I did know that Argento did not actually direct it.
Yeah, and they have the Italian films, like they really do have like a dreamy kind of feel. So it makes sense that they would sort of blend together. Does Maxine have a dreamy kind of feel?
Definitely.
Would you say it's a giallo or like giallo inspired?
Sure. Slasher / giallo.
Well, to me, the giallo is like the killer's wearing black gloves. There's like close up, like Hitchcockian focus. So you don't necessarily like see their face. Maybe they're like Dressed to Kill by Brian De Palma. I think is a really good American giallo.
One of the main influences is definitely Dressed to Kill. There's literally scenes of black gloves and the sounds of the leather clenching.
Nice.
There is detective. There's the detective stuff. It's all up in it. All up.
Yeah, and I really I haven't seen like a crap ton of giallo movies, but I've seen A Bay of Blood. I really enjoy that one. I really enjoyed Opera. They're Dressed to Kill, of course. There's another one of those Dario Argento's. It's not a Tenebrae. Is that how you pronounce that? It's not that one, but I've heard that one's amazing.
It's good.
And I definitely need to watch that.
There's Opera, Tenebrae, Suspiria is like the biggest one.
Deep Red. That's the Deep Red's really friggin' good. That one kind of blew my mind. Where I was like, man, like this is a really good giallo. Really
I like Mother of Tears pretty well. I know I've heard some differential things about it, but I liked it.
I haven't seen that. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, I mean, even I think. Are you guys planning on watching Longlegs pretty soon here?
Yeah. I was just talking with Brittany about it earlier. The reason we didn't go to it last night during its premiere is because we've been trying to get to Maxine for like a week, literally, because it premiered last Thursday. But nowhere around here, so we couldn't go. We had to like plan a whole like trip.
I know. I feel bad for the folks that have to make that drive because it is, and I think like this experience of watching a movie like Longlegs in the theater is really immersive. And while it's not like it's not a giallo kind of thing, I do feel like there is a certain bit of that kind of dreamy quality to certain elements. But yeah, it's I'm interested to know, everybody in the chat, have you seen Maxine already? I'm curious to know. And are you planning on seeing Longlegs? Because I have seen some people coming out that have been like, I at first I didn't know if I was interested, but now I've just been hearing so many good things. Like I've been looking forward to this movie since like January when I first saw the little like strange teasers where they just pull the camera in on like a still picture while you're hearing dialogue, and that's like it, and like so I've been waiting for this one forever, but I think for some folks it's maybe only been like the last month,
Mm-hmm.
that they've really been hearing about it. So yeah, we got Toronto Freddy here is saying the only Friday I don't really like is Jason Goes to Hell. Oh, Jason Goes to Hell's got some fun moments.
Yeah, get the director's cut. It's pretty good.
I would say, like, honestly, what I dislike the most about Jason Goes to Hell is that terrible music. The really bad like 90s synthesizer. It just sounds so, it's just not good quality sound effects. Like I have nothing wrong with synthesizers in general, but it just seems like a really poor quality. Like go put that movie on, try to make it through the credits and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
This is what I'll say. Jason Goes to Hell looks the most like a Friday the 13th, the series type episode. It just has that early 90s TV feel to it, in my opinion.
Yep. There's those 90s movies that have really bad lighting. Like even the Night of the Living Dead remake. That's a really good movie, but it's so like brightly lit and kind of flat looking in a sense. But I think isn't the actor from Jason Goes to Hell, wasn't he in the Friday the 13th TV show?
I believe so.
He doesn't play the same character, but it's the same actor. I actually think that guy's pretty charming. The nerdy guy that has the Letterman jacket.
Yeah,
I think he puts in a great performance.
I like the series. I would watch it time to time whenever it would be on. It was one of those like shows that never had regular scheduled program time for me. It would just occasionally come on the TV on like a Saturday, and I would watch an episode and be like, I have no idea what's going on, but it says Friday the 13th is a cool show. And then later on, I watched some more episodes. I really liked it.
It seems kind of like a precursor to like Supernatural / Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Totally.
Where it's like they have a mentor, but it's like two younger people that are also trying to like, I don't know. Like I haven't seen any episodes. I've seen like people review the show. But are they solving crimes? Are they fighting supernatural beings?
To me, it was kind of like you were right on Supernatural, but did you ever watch the Scooby-Doo that had Vincent Price on it? That was the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo.
I don't think so.
I know I've lost you here. And the 13 Ghosts.
I love Scooby-Doo. I just don't know if I've seen it.
It was an 80s show. I think it lasted one season. I have the DVD of like the complete series. Vincent Price played basically himself, but it was Vincent von Gould, and he was a magician or whatever. He had this box, and inside the box was 13 ghosts, and they accidentally, Scooby and Scrappy and everybody, accidentally let out the 13 ghosts. So each episode was them trying to track down one of the ghosts to put back into the box.
Okay.
So the premise of Friday the 13th, the series, was these two people inherit their family's antique place from their uncle or something like that, and they would have to try to track down these haunted items from the antique store and bring them back.
Okay. So it's got a little bit of inspiration from like the Warrens and all of that from like the Conjuring. I know they're based on real people, but aren't those people in the Conjuring universe? And Annabelle, they have that room with all the charms and all the stuff that they've like exorcised. Toronto Freddy may not like Jason Goes to Hell, but he loves Jason Lives. Absolutely. Yep. Medley Man says part 5 is amazing. Hey, I don't hate on part 5. I gotta be real about the stuff that's real. That's all. I'm actually I got to hang out with Ron Sloan the other week at it was Days of the Dead out here in Phoenix, and he hung out at I was working the Horror Show Channel booth, and he hung out there on Saturday, and he was just a really friendly guy that was asking me like, oh, so what do you do, like, what do you have going on, and just sort of he was moving the conversation along, and I was just trying to be like, I'm a friggin' talker, me, Foz, you guys know me in the chat, I could blah blah forever. So even when I try not to blah blah forever, I still do a little bit. So I'm extra trying not to with Ron Sloan, but he was really sweet. He was like, if you ever want to do an interview, just get a hold of me. He gave me his card and everything. And so I think I want to bring him on. It'll be an anniversary coming up here for part 5 on in September. Or sorry, next March is the anniversary, but September we have a Friday the 13th. So nice. I'm gonna see if I can bring him on here. We can talk some part 5. I've got a lot of love for 5, especially Ethel and Junior. They're freaking
great. Now, because he played Junior, right? I was just trying to remember. He had a great episode back in the day of Dead Pit Radio, back whenever it was like 2006, 2007 would probably be the time.
Wow!
But he had a classic episode that I still remember to this day of him on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why.
So I was just saying, he's a great interview.
Yeah, so those guys. How it's so funny with YouTube that I just find out about stuff now, and these guys have been doing that since 2006. That's wild. That's when I started watching YouTube.
Yeah, so 2005 they came out, and I started listening to them somewhere around 2006, and they've been going all these years, coming on 20 years now.
Yeah, that's amazing. But yeah, and great to hear that. I mean, I would imagine he's a pretty good interview, right? Because he's just such a damn friendly guy. He's the antithesis of Junior. He even had he carries around like the screen used head that rolled on the ground and everything. So he's got that on the table. It's amazing. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, we've got everyone's talking in the chat about a lot of Jason talk here. Talking about some Maxine. Been waiting for Maxine and Longlegs forever, but both aren't playing anywhere near me. Yeah, that's too bad. The having to wait for VOD, because I think this one would be really cool to see in the theater if you have the means. Scooby Natural fucking rolled. Is that what
Natural that rolls?
Is that what people call Supernatural?
I don't know. I know on Buffy they dubbed themselves the Scoobies.
Yeah, the Scooby Gang or whatever. Yeah, that's funny. And Toronto Freddy, yes, Ron Sloan did. He was great in Dylan's New Nightmare. Yeah, he had a lot of fun. It's awesome seeing somebody that you haven't seen, in a while. I know he's done a few other, fan films and stuff, but it's really great to see him, show up in Dylan's New Nightmare and just kill it. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, getting back to, is there anything we're missing for Return of the Living Dead that you want to cover here, Foz, before we wrap things up?
Well, this somehow is, even though it's more of a fun film, this movie, comparatively to Repo Man, which we talked about last week, is the much more nihilistic one, because Repo Man, he was going somewhere. It's into the future. There's nothing but possibility. This is death with nothing but death and more death. Yeah. And it's just a cycle of death, Davey.
Yeah, so, that is it. We should talk about the ending, because it does have, while this movie and the Romero series like splinter off from the same film, essentially, from Night of the Living Dead, this one, even though it has all that humor and it's just totally wild and rambunctious, man, it's got that depressing Romero end, and it's all very, I think, to me, what's so like cold about it is how a matter of fact it is. When the guy picks the military guy, the general or whoever that like hates his life and hates his job and hates his wife.
Mean to his wife, wife a lot.
She's like, I made your favorite lamb chops. And he's like, I had them for lunch. And then just turns around and walks away.
Throw it out.
Yeah. And then he's just basically like, when she's like, I wish we didn't have that equipment here. How long do we have to have it? And he's just like sick of dealing with her. The way that when he gets the call, it's Clu Gulager that calls him. Yeah. Cause he has the number on the side of the tank. He's just like, oh, okay. And then what happened?
Yes.
Oh, fascinating. And what happened after that? He's just like, and then in the most calm manner, almost like they're just running a drill. Like, they just decide, well, we're going to bomb this place. And then
it's just Kentucky. It don't matter.
Yeah. And then worse than that, like the same exact thing that happened with the incinerator and the cadaver that they burned up is what's going to happen from the nuclear bomb.
And what I love is they use the literally exact same footage like copy and paste, same footage with the same score and everything.
Yep. I love it. It's like they're wrapping it around almost like, shoestring budget kind of thing. Same shot of, I mean, why would you do a different shot of the skeleton coming out? But don't they use it with the "Do You Want to Party" song twice as well?
Yeah.
So it's just like
everything is exactly the same. It's just like
shameless,
one big,
shameless.
So somehow that skeleton got back into the ground.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So I guess the way that with how this film ends, you just assume that this is how like the true zombie apocalypse starts. It's an origin story for a follow-up that we never really got.
Well, in part 2, they had it wrapped up and they were transporting the canisters, but then one literally fell off a truck.
Gotcha. Okay. So that's how part 2 ties in.
And then part 3 is the main kid's dad works in a research facility for the government on this stuff, and he messes up by I won't give anything away because you haven't seen it, but he breaks into it and tries to mess around in there, and he fucked around and he found out Davey, and that's how that happened. So but by the time you get to 3, it was contained until this little punk comes into there.
I gotta watch 3. Is it streaming on any platform? Somebody in the chat.
I'm not sure, but
because I'm lazy.
I cannot advise this enough. Get the Vestron Blu-ray. It's part of the Vestron series. I'm working on finishing my whole collection now because they have those little numbers on the spine, and it kills me to have any missing. And Return of the Living Dead 3 is one of the finest of the batch. So make sure to get that one. I can't suggest it enough.
Okay, I have to at least watch it, and then if I love it, I'll purchase it. That's how I roll. But
I'm sure it's streaming somewhere.
Now I'm very much intrigued with how much praise you've given it for sure. We got Toronto Freddy saying David Dastmalchian should be in the running for Freddy. I would say like 10 years ago, I think he might be a little too old, Toronto Freddy, but I do think he's an amazing actor. I love Late Night with the Devil. And I really liked him he was in that first Ant-Man movie. Really funny in that one. I think he's doing like the Eastern European Russian character there. But I think Toronto Freddy, and I know you're relatively new to the channel. There's a video from way back from 2023. It's where I go into who I would like to see play Freddy. This actor named Jared Bankins. He was in the Twisted Metal TV show. He plays one of the underlings of the main villain. He's in like the first 3 episodes, and he just has this like gangly look. The character he plays takes like sick joy from torturing people. I think he would make a great Freddy. And he's going to be in this this movie that's about like these guys trying to go to these juggalos going to the gathering of the juggalos. It's called Off Ramp, and it's coming out in September. And I'm reading all these reviews that are just giving it glowing praise. So I'm just like, this is going to be wild to see this movie. But check out that vid if you haven't seen it.
Actually be in it?
No, I don't think so. It seems like it's I don't know. There are people that are like, this movie made me like rethink the way that I treat people and made me want to be a better person. And they were like, that's right. A movie about juggalos going to the like they even had to like take a step back and be like, I can't believe I'm saying this, but that's how good this movie is. So I'm sort of like
Workaholics episode.
Kind of. That's a really good episode. That's one of my favorite Workaholics episodes. That show was so good, especially the first like 2 or 3 years. Yeah. Oh yeah, I have to check that out again because it's been too long. Kate and I used to quote the Workaholic stuff all the time. So and then Necro Mechanimal says, I joined late, so I'm sure you've already talked about it, but the Trioxin theme is amazing. I had it as a ringtone for the longest time. I might just put it back on now. That's the main like
I think you used it a couple of times for the reels whenever it was on.
Yep. Yeah, I really like that one. It's got a little bit of that kind of disco-y. That's the theme that I was saying kind of reminds me a little bit of Goblin. Even sort of reminds me of the Friday the 13th theme from part 3, that disco theme. That's just got that kind of wobble to it, But yeah, the Trioxin theme is incredible. All of the music, I mean, of course, the soundtrack, but yeah, the score here is great. I got no complaints. It sounds like
None.
Return of the Living Dead or 3 is on Tubi. What is
Everything's
it on
on
Tubi? It's great. It's great. And I just have to watch 500 commercials about a prescription that I'll never need.
The same commercial over and over.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot of fun. Kate and I would watch MacGyver on Tubi before it went on Peacock or wherever, and man, it was like the same 2 commercials every single time. You're just like, oh my god. Oh, and Medley Man now he's like, I guess to top off the trio, what are your favorite Friday the 13th movies? Mine's 6. Jason Lives. That's easy. Yeah. You too? There you go.
6. Easy.
Yeah. And I mean, if I have to pick a 2 and a 3, I'm gonna pick the final chapter and then part 2, I think.
I would go final chapter for my part 2. So we have the same 1 and 2. And then I would probably do Manhattan just because I've watched it so many times. I just love it. And I have an original 1 sheet of that I Heart New York with him slashing through it.
Oh, man.
So once I get my office set up here and it's not just a thrown up flag from Airheads with Lemmy overlooking me, it's you will probably see if it's angled into the video my 1 sheet.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a great poster. That's one of the classics for sure. And we got Allie Girl in the chat. Hey, y'all just got home. Had a thing with my son tonight. Hey, no worries. Really appreciate you stopping in. And you could always scrub back. That's the great thing. Yeah, absolutely. And then Necromechanimal says Das Malchian says he wants to play the abominable Dr. Phoebes. Dr.
I always pronounce it Fibes. Is it Fibs or Fibes?
It's got to be Fibes. Yep. Yeah, I think man, he's got the chops to do whatever he wants, but I do think with horror, I think he could be the guy that plays, sometimes he's the villain, sometimes he's the good guy. I think Das Malchian has an amazing range. Playing a late night talk show host and having it be believable is really tough because they're really like, it's a really unique personality. It's almost like the kind of people that want to be president. Like there's a really specific kind of person that can have a successful talk show. You know, I couldn't imagine the pressure. Like even just doing something on YouTube and then I psych myself up before the show and I do my mental runs of like what I want to talk about. But I'm like, man, when those guys do those shows Monday through Friday, it's absolutely incredible. You know,
I mean, at this point, you've done more episodes than Chevy Chase.
That's true. Probably less viewers. That's okay. But far better interaction with the audience. I've watched some of that stuff, man. It's really awkward, and I love Chevy, but
I watched it back in the day. Yeah,
they like built a friggin' studio for him and named it like the Chevy Chase Theater and everything, and he was done in like 4 to 6 weeks or something like that.
It was some great. I remember watching it, and then it was gone, and I was just a kid and confused, like what. The funny guy's not doing it anymore, because I would watch Arsenio Hall around that same time, and I always liked Arsenio Hall. And then I remember him starting a show and me being like, "Oh, it's Chevy Chase. I'll watch him." Yeah, Cops and Robertsons.
Exactly. Yeah, I would. Big Clark Griswold guy, big Caddyshack guy ever since I was a kid. But yeah, what a crazy run there he had. So yeah, that makes me feel good. More episodes than Chevy Chase. I should put that on a shirt. All right, guys. Well, I think unless there's anything else y'all want to talk about with Return of the Living Dead, I think we can wrap it up there. We did our classic veer all over the place, but, keep on coming back to the movie that we're here to discuss. And then, Foz, I don't know if you have something coming up that you want to plug here, if you're doing any other collabs or vids on your channel.
No, nothing right now. Tomorrow I'm going to the Is for Lovers Fest. And that's the big, if people don't know, it's the big emo fest going on. My wife loves emo. That's her main thing. So I'm taking her to that. But it's got some really good bands on. It's Hawthorne Heights puts it on because Ohio is for lovers. But they do different states. So this is West Virginia is for lovers. Under Oath is the headliner. They're fine. I remember seeing them back in the day in a small place around here play. And there's some other bands that are fine from like the emo era that will be there, and I have some friends and bands that are playing, so it'll be good fun times. That's the big thing on my schedule right now. So I'll probably post a lot of Instagram stuff, reels and such, about all that. But right now I'm moving into the house still, working still to even get an office together, and so hopefully next time we do something in August, I will have something that resembles a background, hopefully.
Hell yeah. And we're gonna be doing Airheads,
announced
1994.
Airheads. You know why? Because I'm the birthday boy in August, and I get to call it.
We both love, I mean, I've got a big love for that movie, so I can't wait to go back to it. I watched it so much when I was younger, like so damn much. And then as far as what I've got coming up is tomorrow at 5 p.m. Eastern, I'm going to be going live on Wolfman's Got Nards. Barry and I are going to do something called, we're doing a live, double scoops episode. It's this new series where he jumps into Halloween and stuff. And we're going to do a Why We're Wrong, where he's going to defend H2O. And I'm going to tell him why it's not the best sequel.
I kind of like
and
H2O,
not even close
from that era.
Yeah. Well, watch all the movies within the month of October, and then tell me if you feel a little differently about H2O.
Now, do you still like H2O better than Resurrection, I hope?
Oh my God. Yeah, absolutely. Resurrection's at the bottom of that's at the bottom of the list. Absolutely. Yeah. But I still find a way to find some enjoyment out of it once a year. It's wild. Or I'll just put a commentary on while I put it on, it's whatever. So yeah, I've got that coming up. And then of course I do my weekend roundup on Sunday mornings. Oh, and tomorrow night, Kate and I are actually going to do, we had so much fun doing the Jaws the Revenge movie date with Davey and Kate watch along. So we're going to do that for Jaws 3D. Which I think is the worst in the series.
I think I was the one of the ones that said, do revenge.
Yeah, I think Revenge is better, more digestible. It's certainly not a great movie, but compared to 3, it's a friggin' masterpiece. Right. But Dennis Quaid all coked up in Jaws 3 is pretty fun. And I do love Louis Gossett Jr.
And I always have to say the mom from My So-Called Life. I just throw that out there because I love that show.
She's the main chick with Dennis Quaid?
Yeah.
The blonde woman? Yeah. Okay. I totally what's her name? It's like Bess Strong or something like that is the actress's name.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe that's right.
I don't know how I pulled that one out of my butt, but I did.
Because she's been in a couple of things. She that I've seen her in when she was younger, but that's the one that always sticks out. She's in Jaws 3D and she's in My So-Called Life.
That's amazing. Yeah, so that's what we got going on here at the Davey Deathray channel. So yeah, guys, we'll keep you abreast of the situation as far as what date for the next episode of Movie Punks. I think Foz and I just have to figure out exactly what day.
We'll have to pin it down. Yeah, but it's going to be Airheads, and I got a lot to say.
So if you haven't watched Airheads, go check it out. If it's been a while, go check it out. Come on into the chat, hang out with us, give us your favorite memories and your thoughts on the film, and we'll have a great chat here. Foz, you still there?
Yeah.
You want to say? Do you want to give a final word to everyone?
Thank you for watching. Return of the Living Dead is one of the most punk rock movies ever, one of the greatest movies ever, and it has been a great pleasure talking about it with my dear friend, Davey Deathray. Thank you, Davey.
Hell yeah. Appreciate you as always, Foz. Love having you on here for Movie Punks. It's something that I'm so excited to just keep it going and, explore all these punk rock movies that we love so much. So yeah, guys, really appreciate you jumping in the chat and hanging out with us. Please don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already. And yeah, share this with some people who have got some Return of the Living Dead love. Share it with your punk rock friends. Let's grow this community and keep it rolling. So until next time, I've been and will continue being Davey Deathray, and that's my boy Foz Rotten. Take care, y'all.
Bye, guys.